Good morning, Rochester ALC, and welcome to another episode of C103 News. I'm Justice.
And I'm Chase. We have a full episode for you this week, so we better get started. If you've been watching the news lately, you've probably heard about some disturbing events recently in Pennsylvania, and one more recently closer to home in Baethke.
If you're like most students, you wonder how these things could happen, and if they could ever happen here. Our news team did some research about our own safety policies in our own building.
7 guns, several bombs, 150 pages of his plan to bomb his school were found under a 17-year-old Baethke student's bed. We have all heard about school safety problems, and today we will be talking about our school safety and the thoughts of our staff members.
I'm here with Mr. Z, going to ask him a couple questions about school safety. So, what safety guards do we have in the school that we could know about?
Actually, this school was kind of designed with safety in mind. And one of the things that they did is they have multiple exits to the building. So if you notice, there's doors that go outside from some classrooms, like the science classrooms have doors that go directly outside, and then there's lots of exits throughout the building. So that's one of the main safety features.
And are you afraid of anything happening in the school?
No, I'm not. I'm very confident that we have some of the best students in the district, and I would think that if there was somebody that was struggling and having those thoughts, that other students would let us know, let the adults know in the building. So I feel pretty confident that it's on everybody's mind, and that if there was a need out there, that some of our students would step up and do the right thing by reporting or telling an adult.
All right. And about the new procedure
Yes.
that we're having, can you explain that a little bit and talk about it?
Yes, essentially what they've done is we used to practice lockdowns where everybody would go into a classroom and hide, so to speak, or get in the corner and be together. They've changed that totally because they've learned through other incidents that have happened across the country where gunmen would come into the building and then they would shoot a whole bunch of people in one classroom. So what we're doing now is the first thing we're going to do is try to get out of the building as fast as we can. So that's one of the main changes in our procedures.
All right. Well, that's about all we have for today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm here with Carlos, and I'm just going to ask him some questions. So, what are your thoughts on the new school safety procedures?
Well, I think that the new safety procedures is pretty good for the most part, but I think that we're still just pretty limited on certain things, just like, how to take abrasive action for whatever else we need to prepare for. But for the most part, I think we're still good.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Hi, I'm here with Officer G, and I'm going to ask him a couple questions about school safety. So, what was the training that you prepared for?
We have, as a police department, we have annual training for specifically school, or we call it active shooter scenarios. We have at least annual training on how we're going to respond. If something were to happen, or a student or anybody got into the building that may have a gun or may start harming kids, a lot of officers would respond as soon as we could. As a liaison officer, I may be the first one, I may be in the building at the time. My job would be to find whoever the threat is, and we call it neutralize the threat. It would be to stop the assault that's taking place. But as far as our training, we do it at least once a year.
That's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
What are the procedures that students should follow?
I think the procedures that the school has, and we just talked about it before we went on camera, but that's if you're, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you're in one side of the building and the threat is on the other side, you're supposed to get out and go to your evacuation point, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. That would be what I would say is follow direction of your teachers and follow the plan that has been set up place that you've practiced for situations like this. So whatever plan you have as a school, and I know you've practiced it, I would make sure to do that.
What precautions have been taken to keep us safe?
I think the biggest thing that you have as a school is all your doors are secure, or at least they have to go in through main office door in order to get into the building. I think that's a major precaution that has been taken in order to keep students safe. The training that you've done as a school on how to react if something like this happened is another way that the school has used, the district and your staff here, to keep you safe. And the training that we do as a police department also keeps in mind, or we want to make sure that we keep students safe when we do that. So there's plans in place. I think that's the biggest thing. But and I think your next question is, what would you do if you saw something like
Yeah.
what should you do? The thing you should do is talk to somebody, talk to a staff, talk to your social workers here, talk to me. If a student you suspect is possibly thinking about something like this, an adult needs to know in order for students to not get hurt or injured or even worse. So the biggest thing is if you hear something, you see something, talk to somebody. I think you hear the radio on, if you see something, say something. New York uses that. They use it now as a country. Anything suspicious, talk to somebody. I would say the same thing. If you have a friend or know of a student that's having some problems, issues, whether it's mental health, and you think they may do something, talk to somebody as soon as you can.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Take these tips into consideration. Keep your eyes open. Tell a teacher and adult if you see anything suspicious going on.
Thanks for the info, team. I know these stories hit a little close to home when they're on the news, so it's good to be reminded about what to do in case of an emergency.
Another story that's been in the news a lot lately is the e-cigarettes, the electronic cigarettes. Some of you might be users, some of you might just be curious.
There are a lot of unknowns about e-cigarettes, so our news team decided to do some digging to give you all more info. Teens under 18 using e-cigs, safe or unsafe. Do you think this is just another way to get teens to start smoking? Let's see what your classmates and Miss B have to say. Hi, I'm here with Travis and Taylor. Do you guys use vape pens?
I used to, but then I went back to smoking cigarettes.
All right. How about you, Travis?
I used to use mine for about a month or two, and then just didn't seem like something I'd like, so I went back to cigarettes too.
How do you guys feel about them?
I don't know. I kind of just think they're a waste of money and a waste of time.
All right.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat with that. Just why waste $48 on something you're gonna have to replace?
Yeah. Do you guys think it's safe at all?
No, not even smoking cigarettes is safe. Putting the chemicals in the air.
Yeah, chemicals in cigarettes aren't safe. Neither is it in the vape it. It's just another thing they can tell you that's safe, but it's not.
All right. And do you guys think it's addictive?
Yes, because you're putting the nicotine in your body, and it's not going to stop you from smoking either way.
I guess you can have your certain opinion on it. You can get ones that have like no nicotine, or you can get the ones that have too much nicotine.
Mm-hmm.
It all just depends, basically. But it can be depending on flavors. But I guess it's more of a yes and no question. But I'm kind of more on the side of yes.
All right. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, and I'm here with Miss Petersley and Carlos to ask them about vape pens and e-cigarettes. So, Mrs. Petersley, have you ever vaped or have you ever used a vape pen or smoked a cigarette, anything like that?
No, I have not.
So what do you think about them? Do you personally find them addictive? From a health teacher's point of view, perspective, what do you think about them? What's your opinion on them?
Well, with the e-cigarettes or the vape pens, they have nicotine in them. The thing is they're not regulated, so they don't have a certain amount that they can or can't have, and they don't have to advertise it either on the packaging. So they don't have, when you get the pen, you don't know exactly what you're getting. So yes, they can be addictive because they have nicotine in them, and it is at various amounts, so it could affect everybody in a different way.
Okay. Carlos, what do you think of them? You vape, don't you?
Yeah, pretty much for the most part. I do use the same thing as e-cigarette and hookah pen at the same time, pretty much. And for like her concept too, it just varies on the smoker. You know what? Because next person, my friend, Taylor, could get addicted. But then for me, I could not get addicted, and it's just depending on the effects. So for the most part, it really varies. But
And the type of juice you have, depending on what chemicals and how much nicotine they put in it.
Yep.
Do you think it's a safer alternative to smoking? Do you find it?
It's a better alternative, yes, because only the fact that it's at least a lower dosage of nicotine rather than having at least a full, cigarette than having to get all that nicotine and all those carcinogens. No, it's not worth it. So.
Okay. Ms. Peterson, same question.
Well, my opinion is that we don't know anything about them. We haven't had any regulations. They haven't been studied. So in 5 years, we could come with really adverse effects, and we don't know. So are they safer? Potentially. But we will find out in a few years, I guess.
But it's not the same as breathing oxygen.
Exactly.
Okay. So are you aware of any of the legislatures or the FDA process or any of the Mayo doctors who have written articles on these? Are you aware of any of?
I have seen some, but nothing that really solidly supports it or is against it.
So are you more towards like complete anti-smoking, or are you more like bar it and regulate it in certain areas so that it doesn't affect people who don't want to smoke as well?
I think that it needs to be regulated because I don't believe it should affect those that choose not to. If I don't want to be around it, I don't think people that are smoking it, whether it's a school or a restaurant, should be able to just choose to pull it out and use it.
Yeah.
So I think there should be some regulations on it, but I really think that there should be some studies behind it before we continue offering it to our young population or even our adults to know exactly what are we getting.
This becomes to a matter of respect and responsibility and reason as well.
Correct. I mean, everybody has a decision, and I think those decisions should be thoughtful decisions.
All right. Well, thank you guys.
Yeah,
Thank
you.
At least e-cigs could create a lot less mess out by the smokers' corner.
That's a good reminder for smokers. Mr. Zebart is always watching. So clean up after yourselves when you're out there. Speaking of Zebart, here he is with his weekly segment.
Thanks, Mr. Zebart. Chase, summer's going to be here right before you know it.
That's true. But just because summer's coming, it doesn't mean everyone gets to take the summer off.
If you are in need of credits, community service hours, or even a job, you should consider working in the garden, even though we don't have the big garden like we did in Golden Hill anymore. Students and staff here are working to change that. Check it out.
Have you been wondering about the garden? Well, our group did an update on it.
So I'm here with Chris, and we're getting an update on the garden. So what's new with the garden?
Well, right now we are setting up raised beds outside. We're working a lot over at the JM greenhouse, making starts. We have a lot of melons, tomatoes, zucchinis kind of growing right now. And and we're going to be hiring quite a few more people this week.
Sounds great. How is the garden benefiting the students and the school?
Well, it gives the students a job to practice, practical job skills, and kind of gives them like a intro to working in the real world, and it also teaches them, how to garden themselves and proper nutrition and all those things. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Chloe, and I'm here with Mr. Lelux, and we're going to ask him some questions about the garden. If you want to work in the garden, how would you go about that?
Right now we're just taking applications, so you'd fill out one of the applications. We're going to have interviews, I think, late this week. So then you get called in for an interview, and then we hire you.
Awesome. So the students get cash or credit for that?
We only start out at credit. We don't ever guarantee any cash. If you're going to get cash, you actually got to work through the workforce to get paid. So that would be something that we don't really handle. And then usually you have to get a certain amount of hours. But we're hoping to get kids paid, but it's going to be 100% based off of the workforce can make that happen. But we are giving credit.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm here with the garden crew, Colin, Jordan, and Ben, and they're going to explain how the garden changes their life and what they do for the garden. Colin.
It takes away my community service hours. It gives me my second legal job. I have a green thumb because I used to garden stuff at my own house, and I'm actually very helpful here. So, yeah.
Jordan.
I got a job, and it helps me get stuff that I want to get, and I shovel rocks, wash pots, and dig holes and stuff.
I pretty much do the same thing. I pull stakes, shovel rocks, dig holes. wash pots, pretty much all that stuff.
And how does this change your life for the school, or you're just together?
Well, I at least get paid, so I have some money to use.
All right, thank you for your time. And that's an update on our garden. Please contact Lelux, Chris, or Lynch if you have any questions or any way you could get into it. Thank you. Bye.
If you're interested in working in the garden, be sure to talk to Mr. Lelux, Mr. Lynch, or Chris for more information.
On to another source full of information. Here's Lois with their weekly life tips.
Welcome to another segment of Life Tips. Today our segment is about attitude. Attitude. Stop for a moment and consider what your personal attitude is. It's back to, are you looking up or looking down? And today we have a special feature because we have a guest speaker. Louis is joining us today because you know what? Students here and staff see you with a really positive mental attitude. We're going to check in and ask them, do you see yourself as positive?
Yes.
Tell me and tell your audience, how did you catch a positive attitude and how do you keep it?
First of all, one of the things that I have noticed that does make a change is smiling. I do recommend it a lot for everybody. Also respecting other people. As long as you respect other people, people tend to respect you as well. Not going so much through the drama of criticizing, because everybody's just different. Each one has their own problems. So understanding others instead of actually judging them does help. Another thing that I have noticed is usually what I do is I tend to focus on what I have to do and just get it done instead of procrastinating, because I'm still going to have to do it. And also, it doesn't really, well, in the future, it's not going to matter what basically who you criticized or who you hang out with. What's going to matter is what you learn from the ALC and from basically your education. So I do recommend just respect others, stay always positive, think about the good things of any problems, even though it may seem like something really, really bad, it does have something positive to it. Usually out of the problems that I have had, who I thought were just amazingly bad, and I thought I wasn't going to get nothing bad of it, I did get something good out of it, and that was experience, not to do that same thing all over again. So I already went through it once, and I don't want to go through it twice.
Louis, you've given us some great ideas and some things that each of us can do. Smile. Decrease our criticism of others and of ourselves. Be planful. Don't put off tomorrow what you can do today. Learn from your experiences. Don't repeat the ones that yield negative consequences. And be respectful. Thank you for joining us. We're going to end with a little bit of a summary which says, a saying, keep your face to the sunshine and you won't see the shadows. Thank you and have a good day.
Well, that does it for this week's edition of C103 News. Join us next week for another episode.
Have a great week, everyone.